Deep questions persist in the death of Nolan Wells.
Wells' body was found after a 4th of July boat trip with friends to Horn Island in Mississippi.
People are taking this situation as a joke. We just want to know what happened to our son.
One of them is telling the truth, one of them is not.
Yeah, our CBS News partners revealing some new GPS data from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, tracking the movements of the boat Nolan Wells was on.
Before we step into the quiet, sun-drenched coastal waters off the Mississippi Gulf Coast, I want to ask you a serious question down in the comments. When a group of friends leaves a remote barrier island while one of their own remains behind, do you believe it is the result of a tragic misunderstanding, or is it a calculated attempt to construct a story before anyone realizes what actually happened? Drop your thoughts right now, because the digital footprint uncovering the final hours of Nolan Wells is raising questions that no official statement can easily explain. Deep, unsettling questions persist in the death of collegiate athlete Nolan Wells. His body was recovered after what was supposed to be a routine 4th of July boat trip with friends to Horn Island in Mississippi. For weeks, public interest has exploded across social media, with rumors and conflicting accounts filling the silence. But while rumors circulate, cold, hard GPS data revealed by state marine resources departments paints a rigid, unblinking map of the boat's movements on the day Nolan vanished. For 2 agonizing weeks, this case was choked by internet speculation and shifting narratives. But digital telemetry does not care about personal loyalties, and it certainly does not care about protecting reputations. It only records where that vessel moved, hour by agonizing hour. There is a deep, raw tension at the heart of this investigation because only 2 entities were with Nolan in his final confirmed moments on Horn Island: his circle of friends on the boat and a young woman named Katie. For 14 days, while the friends' accounts were repeated until they began to sound like established facts in early police reports, Katie's perspective remained almost entirely in the shadows. What Katie told investigators does not align with what the friends reported. For a family living through a parent's worst nightmare, the devastating pain of loss is now compounded by a cold, haunting realization. Someone in this story is not telling the truth. Nolan's parents are currently navigating a reality that most people simply cannot fathom. It is one thing to lose a child to a tragic, unavoidable accident. It is an entirely different trauma to be denied the truth about his final conscious choices. Did Nolan decide to stay behind on that remote, exposed island of his own free will, or did he intend to catch a ride back to the mainland with his group? According to Katie, Nolan stated explicitly that he was planning to walk back down the beach, rejoin his friends, and board their boat before it departed. But according to those same friends, Nolan told them the exact opposite, claiming he intended to remain on the island entirely by choice. Both of these statements cannot be true. This is a direct, irreconcilable contradiction between 2 parties who were physically present on that shore. When you lose the ability to ask your son what happened, you are forced to hunt for answers in the small threads left behind. You examine his personal effects, cross-reference timeline gaps, and analyze mechanical records, trying to piece together a reality that refuses to align. Why would these accounts diverge so sharply? That search for objective reality is why the boat's GPS data is so vital. It serves as an unbiased witness. On July 4th, the boat arrived at Horn Island at 11:14 in the morning. By 4:31 that afternoon, the vessel departed, and Nolan was not on board. But while the narrative provided by the friends seemed to end at the shoreline, the boat's physical movement did not. The vessel didn't simply return directly to its home marina. Instead, GPS records show it moved toward Fort Bayou, returned to a local dock, and was eventually pulled out of the water entirely, transported overland to a private residence miles away. This multi-stage sequence of movements over several hours, ending far from the original access point, is the exact window that investigators are dissecting. Why was the boat moved in such a specific, non-linear pattern after a member of the party was left behind? What were the occupants doing during those critical, unaccounted-for hours? As the investigation intensified, the process shifted from a missing person search to a formal legal review. District prosecutors confirmed to the family that once state law enforcement concludes its work, the entire case file will be presented to a grand jury. A grand jury referral is a procedural review mechanism where a panel of citizens evaluates evidence to determine if probable cause exists for criminal charges. It is an independent check on the initial findings, ensuring the file cannot simply be closed without formal oversight. Simultaneously, federal authorities stepped in to provide technical support, specifically addressing potential interstate threats directed at individuals connected to the case. while local sheriff's detectives retain primary jurisdiction over the death inquiry. Yet, amid the legal developments, the family remains focused on the single most critical piece of digital evidence: Nolan's cell phone. A mobile device in the modern era is a digital time capsule. It holds location metadata, app activity logs, and communication timestamps that can verify or shatter verbal claims. The battle over this device has created intense friction. Rather than allowing local authorities to examine the hardware in isolation, an agreement was reached for a joint forensic inspection. Independent technical experts representing the family will work shoulder to shoulder with state analysts to extract and verify the raw data together. The experts are hunting for answers to an uncharacteristic 24-hour blackout on Nolan's digital accounts leading up to his disappearance. More importantly, they are looking for location signatures. When the phone was eventually recovered, it was not found on the island. It was located at the private residence of one of the friends who had been on the boat. If metadata reveals that messages or location logs were altered or cleared while the phone was at that secondary location, the entire trajectory of the investigation shifts from an accidental death inquiry to an active criminal cover-up investigation. Beyond the digital coordinates and legal procedures, the family has had to contend with minor physical details that stack up to create profound doubt. Initial official reports listed Nolan wearing black shorts when he vanished, but photographic evidence from the island clearly showed him wearing bright blue shorts. On its own, a skeptic might label this a simple clerical error in a busy police log. But for parents trying to reconstruct their son's final hours, when the very first physical descriptor provided by officials is inaccurate, it forces them to question what other baseline facts were recorded without proper verification. Then there is the issue of his personal vehicle. In the days immediately following his disappearance, his family attempted to retrieve his car from a friend's driveway. What should have been a simple handoff turned into an agonizing delay, with claims that the keys could not be located. After a tense wait, the keys were found sitting in plain sight inside the home on top of a gaming console. To an outsider, it might appear to be a simple lapse in memory during a stressful moment. To a grieving family searching for immediate answers, it felt like unnecessary friction during the most critical hours of the search. These physical and logistical inconsistencies are precisely why the family refused to passively accept early assumptions of a simple accidental drowning. Feeling that the initial inquiry was overly narrow and failed to address glaring contradictions, the family retained national legal counsel to push for absolute transparency. To ensure an uncompromised medical evaluation, the family took the extraordinary step of commissioning a private, independent autopsy. Utilizing a forensic pathologist based in Washington, D.C., an expert completely unaffiliated with local state law enforcement, the family sought an objective analysis of physical evidence, lung tissue markers, and potential defensive injuries. We currently sit in a state of suspended animation, awaiting the final written reports from both the independent forensic pathologist and the official state toxicology labs. The family remains locked in a painful limbo, unable to fully process their grief while the fundamental facts surrounding the cause and timing of death remain actively contested. As this complex legal process moves forward, it becomes increasingly clear that the truth of what happened on Horn Island will not be found in social media speculation or rehearsed verbal statements. It will be found in the cold, unyielding precision of verified data, the GPS tracking logs, the joint cell phone extraction, and the independent forensic autopsy. Every timestamp, every location ping, and every biological marker belongs to Nolan. His family has made it clear that they are not seeking a convenient resolution. They are demanding the complete, unvarnished truth about the hours between the boat's departure and the moment their son was lost. The legal machinery is turning, the digital files are unsealing, and the search for absolute accountability continues.